Hi, everyone. I'm Carrie Hastings. I coordinate the Urban Water Funders, and I'm here today with Jenifer Collins, who leads the Clean Water for All Coalition. So, Jenifer, tell us about the Clean Water for All Coalition and the purpose or the goal of this campaign.
So much, Carrie, and thanks to everybody for allowing me to be here and share a little bit more about Clean Water for All. Clean Water for All was founded in 2016 as a big tent coalition, bringing together any organization who wishes to work together towards joint advocacy to address the biggest threats to our water resources. We work to advance federal and state policy to address these biggest threats to our waters from pollution that puts people, communities, and nature at risk. Our policy goals are advancing water protections by advancing and defending robust Clean Water Act protections and equitable access to secure clean water for all, investing in water infrastructure by ensuring equitable, climate resilient, and affordable water infrastructure for all communities, limiting pollution from agriculture by promoting sustainable agriculture and enhancing water quality through strong regulatory compliance and improved conservation outcomes. And we have a lot more information on each of those goals that can be found on our website in our 2024 to 2028 policy agenda. And so the coalition works to achieve these goals through a collective impact approach. We provide advocacy coordination, technical expertise, and communication support for a broad spectrum of organizations, from national to local, and representing diverse perspectives, creating a collective advocacy approach that increases our success in achieving strong clean water protections. We believe that by integrating these diverse perspectives, grassroots engagement, and coordinated state and federal advocacy, we can advance strong clean water policies and funding while growing public will and building the political momentum necessary to secure strong, comprehensive clean water policy that will benefit every community, especially those historically overburdened.
Great, thank you. So, you mentioned state and federal. I'm hoping you can expand a bit more on kind of the scale of some of the work, especially given that you have so many partners. I'm sure, it's laddering up from local to state and national, but if you can talk a bit more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as you mentioned, yeah, we primarily work at the state and the federal levels. And I'll start with our federal policy work. That targets Congress and the administration. We are currently in the process of developing our 2026 work plans that I'm happy to share with any of the folks who are engaging this, want to learn more detail there. But I will focus on just some things from our water infrastructure work group, which is most closely aligned with the goals of the urban water funders, and some top lines from that group. So one goal of that work group of the coalition is to finish the process the work group started last year of developing a comprehensive water infrastructure funding legislative reform agenda focused on the State Revolving Loan Fund that pushes the funding program to be more effective and equitable. And once that is developed, they will start building support for it among champions in Congress to lay the groundwork for more action and movement in 2027. And that work group is also working on data gathering and other types of oversight tactics that they can deploy to pressure and spotlight the Trump administration's water infrastructure funding policies and the impact on communities. I also think that our work to uphold and defend the Clean Water Act and protect this bedrock law and source waters is important to highlight, as protections for these waters can in turn impact urban water systems. That our Advancing Water Protections group has been focused on creating resources that organizations can use to highlight the impacts of regulatory rollbacks like recent polluted water rule, and therefore increase public comments into the record. Our state advocacy has been centralized in Arizona, Colorado, New Mexico, Illinois, Washington, and Wisconsin. And a few of these states, we have specific targets that typically are the state agencies overseeing water permitting programs or the state legislature, depending on what the state is pushing and where they are in their advocacy.
Tell me a bit more about who is in the coalition, who are the stakeholders and partners that you work with, and how do you make decisions collectively?
Yeah, absolutely. So our coalition is over 100 members strong, and we are growing every month. And like I said earlier, the organizations can be at any scale that are joining the coalition and come from a lot of really diverse perspectives from public health, environmental justice, conservation, environment, from grassroots and community level to national. So it's very diverse, and that is a something that we are very focused on is in continuing to always increase that representation of the folks involved in the coalition. And then we also work with dozens of partners across the country through our Protect Our Waters campaign. That's where we've historically focused on that advancing state level policy. So in terms of decision making, we have a steering committee that is the voting body of the coalition. They vote in our big picture documents and strategy, like our policy agenda, our strategic plan, and review membership requests. But all of that work really starts in our work groups, and is informed by the broader membership. Members engage in policy discussions and determine the focus of yearly work plans through those policy focus work groups and others. And the main focus of those work groups is to, determine strategy and specific tactics. Again, utilizing that diverse perspectives of all of the folks who are engaged in those work groups, and then also sharing intel about what is happening and learning from each other, networking and building more educational resources for the broader community. So we have both federal and state policy work groups. Our federal work groups focus on those big picture issues of agriculture, pollution to water resources, investing in water infrastructure and water protections. And then we have coordinated and or financially supported campaigns in those states I mentioned earlier: Arizona, Colorado, Illinois, New Mexico, Washington, and Wisconsin. We also have different spaces where we expand beyond our membership. And we also have work groups that focus on supporting members specifically and expanding our reach, as well as communications and our long-term policy goals. And as I mentioned, we work beyond our membership to and aim to support the broader movement of organizations working on federal and state clean water policy by making many of our resources and even some of our information sharing and coordination calls open to partners and other networks. And we have also developed close relationships with other coalitions and efforts and aim to work at cross purposes. For example, IDing where another coalition may be leading on an effort under our policy agenda, and where we can support them and still, again, like share information and work together rather than duplicating efforts.
Jenifer, who facilitates all of this work? That's a lot of working groups, a lot of partners. Is it you or team members, or are folks kind of voted in from the coalition? How does that work?
Yeah, thank you for that question. So I'd say the way we structure it is we have staff, so myself, and we have a small but mighty team of 4 individuals. We are fiscally sponsored by the National Wildlife Federation, and so the staff are employed by NWF, again, under the direction of our steering committee. And then we have volunteer work group leads for each of those different work groups that are from the organizations within our membership, that are huge support and really lead a lot of those policy discussions. And I think it really just shows the collaborative nature of the work of the coalition by being able to rely on these great advocates from across different national, local, and state organizations.
Thank you so much, Jenifer. It's really nice to hear about your work and the coalition that you all help to steward, and thanks for all that you do.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity to share more with y'all.
All right, bye-bye.